What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I want to talk about a topic that we've covered quite extensively on this channel and for probably the better part of a year, maybe even a year plus, and that is game modes, or the addition of new game modes for Splinterlands. But the thing is, there's definitely some drawbacks, and the way I'll probably title this video like the paradox of adding new game modes, because while we do hope that the addition of new game modes would bring additional utility to a lot of different assets, right? Maybe SPS for staking requirements, cards, definitely, maybe land, maybe nodes, right? Whatever else you can think of, and DEC by association, right, with SPS. While all of that would be great, the only way to incentivize people to play in something like that, because it's Web3, nobody likes to do anything for free, unfortunately, and the only way you'd be able to incentivize people is by adding another or allocating more SPS and creating a new reward pool overall for the players. So SPS inflation is already high, and when you think about it, we actually have, if I'm counting just off the top of my head, like 5 game modes technically, right? So I know it may not seem like it, but you have your ranked battles, you have brawls and tournaments, right? We've had those essentially since the beginning of SPS. Well, actually not. We've only had tournaments since the beginning of SPS, but we've had those 3 as like the core game modes that have been around for a while, with guilds and guild brawls and SPS receiving it in 2022. In addition to that, you have land, which is allocated, and those 4 together were all part of the white paper, so everything is gravy there, at least expectations should be set. But the 5th one is actually tower defense, and yes, there's not a game yet, but there is an allocated pool giving out 1 million SPS per month. So, whenever that game does go live, there will be some utility, hopefully, for the NFTs and things like that. But if we were to add another game mode or several game modes, one, we would need to find where that SPS is coming from, and I think getting the DAO to agree on anything would be very tough. Although, if it did add value, then that would be awesome. But aside from the DAO, getting the DAO to vote, you have to think about the fact that SPS inflation is already significantly high, and the question then becomes, okay, well, what pool do we tap into, right? Or are we taking away from another game mode's pool, which I don't think is cool. I don't think anybody would be really happy about that, right? You're seeing here, and we're approaching, I guess, the midway point of SPS distribution, right? 1.5 billion. So we got 1.2. We're about 120 days away, I would say, because there's 1.25 million in circulation. Then you got about 120 million that have been burned so far, either through the node licenses or through SPS. For DEC. So, thinking through that, there's still a lot of distribution left to go. And the question then becomes, okay, well, we've scaled down LPs. Do we add that in for a game mode? That might be an option. Do we look at the DAO, which, according to the white paper, receives 400 million SPS over the course of, the distribution phase? And do we start tipping into that? Because that's completely unallocated at this point in time. If anything, we've been using pre-existing reward pools, or we've kind of, just messed around within those reward pools and shifted things, right? So, for example, the Soul Keep came in from the teams pools, right? And I don't even know what's going to happen with the rest of the teams allocation. I don't remember what that is right now. But that becomes the question, right? Are we ready to be giving out more SPS for a new game mode when it's just going to be the same players? And yes, I am fully on board and optimistic about the idea that, hey, a new game mode might bring in new players, but just consider where the community is right now. Consider where the sentiment is right now, and ask yourself, right, like what kind of game mode would need to launch in order for, you, for example, who's listening and, has been playing Splinterlands for maybe a couple of years, for you to be like, oh, I'm going to tell all my friends about this now, right? Like, I don't know what that looks like. I'm not saying it's impossible. In fact, I'm hoping that, smarter minds than me will be able to come up with something. But in a way, I don't know what that looks like. Now, that's from we'll call it like the economics or the tokenomics standpoint. From a game perspective, I think it's definitely within the team's interest to be adding some kind of new game modes, right? The community's been clamoring about it for a while, and I don't know what their bandwidth is, and I don't know what their game plan is, at least in terms of that, right? I know that they want to get all the new player experience stuff done. They want to flesh out Land, which is a game mode that could add more value in the future, and probably a huge amount, right? Considering how bullish Matt is on it. But in terms of other potential game modes, even something as small as like using, or utilizing the wagons in a different way, I don't know what that looks like, right? I don't know what that looks like. And when you go back to the tokenomics consideration, it adds just more, not necessarily sell pressure, but inflation's never going to be looked at as like a really positive thing. And so again, we've talked about this at length in terms of, oh man, it'd be cool if there was a draft card mode or different types of tournaments or all these different things. And so I'm just trying to pose the question now, so maybe we can get ahead of it and just start brainstorming. Like, where does that pool come from? Where does that SPS come from? Or, I don't know. I mean, are we ready to have a conversation that maybe there's a game mode that doesn't actually pay out rewards? I don't know. Financial or monetary rewards, right? It's something that people do for fun, and they don't mind spending more money or allocating more assets to it, right? Again, it would have to be a hell of a game, something that can compete with Web 2, or a game mode, I should say. But that's just kind of where my head is at right now. There's a lot of people have been talking about game modes, and we've been talking about it for a long time, but even before we get to what kind of new game modes can there be, I think we need to consider what type of impact that would have on the market, right? Again, I understand, and I'll close on this. I think the team should be doing it anyway, right? If they want to build a sprawling ecosystem that, and give assets a ton of different utility and value. But, the SPS side of things is something that's not just important to the team, but to the community as well, right? And to anybody who's staking and has some kind of weight within the DAO. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll go ahead and leave this one there, but very curious to know what you guys are thinking. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.